Hey gamers, Gecko here. I'm sorry if I look a bit weird. I wasn't planning on recording anything today. But then I remembered that the Devil May Cry Netflix show released today. And, well, it's a definite show that exists on Netflix called Devil May Cry. I have very mixed feelings about this show. And as some of you may know, I am a very big Devil May Cry fan. I would say Devil May Cry 3 and 5 are some of the best games that have ever been made. Don't ask me which one is better. I can't rank them between each other. And even then, Devil May Cry 1 is an extremely great game. It's just, you know, it's very obviously a first step in my mind. And Devil May Cry 4, it rocks. It's great. It's just a shame it's not as good as 3 and 5. Devil May Cry 4 exists in any other series, it would be peak. It would be amazing. Do not ask me about 2 in the remake. We're here to talk about things I enjoy for these couple of seconds. So, how is the show? Well, before we get into spoilers, if you want a non-spoiler review, it's a little bit weird. If you're a Devil May Cry fan, likelihood is you're going to try and watch it, or you have already watched it. If you're not a Devil May Cry fan, though, I genuinely don't know how much you would get out of this show. If you like the Castlevania series on Netflix, you'll probably enjoy it. From what I can tell, it does kind of share a lot of DNA with that show. I only watched like 1 season of it. I watched the first 3 episodes. I have a lot of problems with the show, and I'm not sure if they're because I am a Devil May Cry fan, or if they are just problems with the show. So, take what I say with a pinch of salt. Maybe you'll enjoy it. It's not a bad show. There's nothing absolutely horrible in it, but I wouldn't say that it's great. I wouldn't say that it's the best show that's ever been made. 100 out of 100, you need to go watch it. It's absolutely amazing. But it's not terrible. Unless you're a fan of Lady. We'll get to that, though. We need to talk about other things. So to begin with, for the fans of Devil May Cry in the audience, our worst fears have come to light. They're trying to reboot the series again. This game takes place before Devil May Cry 3, but not in the official timeline. This is taking place in its own alternate universe. Instead of vague Western country that Dante lives in, Dante lives in America, specifically New York City. Instead of knowing his origins, he's unsure of who he is. He doesn't even have a company called Devil May Cry. He doesn't have a company at all. Dante's a jobber. But even still, I think that this show does Dante amazingly. We've seen that if you fuck up Dante, you can basically fuck up an entire reputation of a single game. Just look at DMC Devil May Cry and Devil May Cry 2. They both have issues, but one of the biggest things to point out is Dante's not Dante in those games. In this, though, Dante feels true to character. He's constantly quipping, he's toying with his opponents, he's doing a bunch of flashy bullshit that he doesn't need to do, and it kind of feels like he's overpowered in most situations that he's put in. But still, when shit hits the fan, he knows when to shut his mouth and get a little bit serious. I was really worried they were gonna lean too much into the overly quippy, constantly joking Dante, but they hit a right balance. Anytime they brought up his family, or Virgil, or anything, the jokes were stopping, and I feel like that's really good for Dante. I think that's good characterization. One of the main things is that he is a mama's boy who cares about his family, so anytime they're brought up, he starts giving a shit. The one thing I will say, and this is super nerd territory, just heads up. While I think that the action scenes with Dante in them are very good and very flashy, I wish he did more things like how he does in the game. In the show, he basically exclusively uses Rebellion and 2 pistols. They're not ebony and ivory, they're just pistols. He does use some other weapons, notably a actual motorcycle, and Agni and Rudra while fighting them. But he doesn't keep any of the weapons. They're very much one-and-done sequences. This is fine with some stuff. There's a shot where he hits people with pool balls, which is actually a really well-done shot, as well as kicking and throwing people and doing a bunch of dumb stuff. But in a lot of the later fights, it really felt like they were just relying on him shooting people or hitting them with Rebellion. And I kind of wish he did a couple of his actual moves. I don't ever remember seeing him use Stinger. He never really knocked anyone up in the air and started doing stuff like that. He didn't even spin Rebellion around on his hand. Just a couple of more nods to how he actually fights in the games would have been nice. He also didn't use Rainstorm. He kind of used it. He, like, flipped over a demon and said jackpot and shot them in the face. It was kind of Rainwater because he had the pistols like that and he was doing the thing, but it wasn't like, you know, spin down, woohoo, kind of Rainwater. I will also say, the show does an amazing job of making sure Dante isn't too cool. He is cool, but he is a loser. Apart from the first time he says it, every time Dante says jackpot, he gets his shit kicked in. It's beautiful. It's exactly what I want from Dante. Anytime Dante is on screen, the show's decent to good. I enjoyed a lot of his scenes. I enjoyed his personality. I think Johnny on Bosch actually did an amazing job as Dante. I was really worried when I first heard the voice, because, you know, it's Nero. But I think he did a good job. I think he really got the core of the character and translated it well, even if the voice change is a little bit jarring at first. It felt natural to me, though, so I'm not complaining about it too much. Also, the show looks really good. There's a couple of scenes where they use CG and it's very obvious, mainly on the demons. It never looks terrible, but you can kind of tell that they're rendered in a different art style. And I feel like the animation team didn't have as much time as they wanted on some of them. So there's a couple of scenes where it's a little bit jarring, but it never looks bad. We're not talking like Berserk level bad. It's just a little bit noticeable. And even then, I'm a fucking nerd, so maybe not everyone notices it. Soundtrack was also pretty good. I was really worried when I saw the song list that they released the day before it came out. Devil May Cry music's iconic. Like, it is really good. It doesn't matter which game you take the songs from, you can tell that it's Devil May Cry. So putting licensed music in Devil May Cry, I was worried it was gonna lose the feeling of it a little bit. Most of the time, it was fine, though. Worst it was like, unoffensive. There was a scene where Dante's riding his motorcycle, and he's fighting a bunch of demons, and they play a pop-punk song, and I'm like, okay, fair enough. Like, it wasn't bad, it was just a little bit jarring. The things I didn't like about the music, though, is they have a cover of Devil Trigger, and it's just not as good as the original, I'm sorry. Devil Trigger is a fucking amazing song, and whatever song they used didn't quite fit. A lot of the ambient music, though, things that sound like they were made for the show, I really like those. There was a theme that played during one of the scenes that sounded like V's theme. I don't think it was. I think it was another track. But it had the same, like, cadence as V's theme. And that's about where my praise ends, unfortunately. The show's really weird. While I do like Dante a lot, I feel like everything that's going on around him feels like a different show. It's really strange. You see Dante doing his flips, his shooting his guns, his hitting people with Rebellion, his quippy one-liners, which are, like, real-life references now. Some of them feel like fucking Family Guy bits. And then we go and it's a different show. Not necessarily a bad show, but a different show. I was really worried in the first episode they directly bring up politics. The word the radical left is said by a fucking presenter on a talk show. And it's obvious to sort of tell you, hey, listen, we're going to be tackling a lot of political themes here. We're going to be saying things in this show. But it really felt like a bit of a fucking sledgehammer after watching a rabbit walk into a place and steal a sword. A bit of a shock to the system. I'm all down for politics in basically anything as long as it's done right. Trying to poorly implement politics into something that doesn't work gets you DMC Devil May Cry. But putting it in things and having it actually work with the story can lead to some of the best fiction ever created. The show is very obviously created by someone who's in touch with American politics. There's literally a bit at the start where it shows a guy on a podcast saying demons are coming, and then it cuts to a fucking Jimmy Fallon talk show where they take the piss out of him, and it's very strange. It's very weird. The vice president in the show is also an extremely religious man. He is constantly talking about the will of God, and I mean constantly. I don't think there's a single line that doesn't have him talking about God somehow, which... Red flag, DMC Devil May Cry again. I always thought it was annoying. It was so obvious that this guy was gonna turn heel and become a villain, and wow, would you look at that, in the final episode, he becomes a villain and turns heel, and things are terrible. Who could have seen this one coming? The guy that's constantly talking about God's plan and has red glasses is a bad guy? Whoa! But the biggest crime, the biggest sin that the story commits is that it fucking ruins Lady. It absolutely demolishes Lady. It feels like they are taking her character, ripping it apart, and trying to put it back together in the worst way possible. If you've got this far into the review and you don't know who Lady is, how? How? Lady is one of the central figures of DMC 3. She is a human whose father is helping Virgil to create a portal to the underworld. Fun fact, her father is fucking evil and turns out to be the main villain. She helps and hinders Dante along his adventure until eventually becoming a good guy and helping him throughout the series. DMC 3 is as much a game about Dante and Virgil as it is Lady. Lady's role in Devil May Cry 3 is extremely important. It essentially mirrors the trauma that Dante had with his own father and his own legacy. Just, you know, Sparta wasn't that much of a dick. There's a lot of extremely impactful scenes with Lady in Devil May Cry 3, but she's also just a fucking badass in that game. The first interaction you have with Lady, she shoots a rocket launcher at Dante, and he rides it like a skateboard. The second interaction you have, she shoots him in the face. Every time you see Lady, she is kicking ass. She is beating the fuck out of some demons, and she's fucking awesome because of it. However, in the show, Lady is a mercenary for Dark something. I already forgot the name of the place. She essentially is extremely racist to demons, which, to be fair, she kind of was in 3. But she also takes direct orders from the vice president, like, literally. There's a bit where the vice president says that she's a great soldier, but she needs to be made to heal. Like how you would a dog. If you remember, Lady's origin story is that her father was an abusive piece of shit and she's going to kill him. So her taking orders from a male authority figure just feels extremely wrong. Like, you missed the fucking point wrong. Her origin was also changed. She had an encounter when she was very young with a demon, and it drove her father basically insane until he became a demon himself, in which she probably killed him. I say probably, the house burned down, but we don't know if the father died or not. We can assume he did because he was in a burning building, but who knows? So because of how they've treated Lady, they've basically forced the timeline to be different. Now, Devil May Cry 3 cannot happen the way that it happens in the games, which is a shame, because Devil May Cry 3 is awesome. And if Devil May Cry 3 doesn't happen the way that happens in the games, none of the other games can happen the way they happen in the games. We cannot have Devil May Cry 1 where Dante kills Mundus, the thing that his father failed to do. We can't have Devil May Cry 2 happen, even though Lucia shows up from Devil May Cry 2 in the first episode. We can't have Devil May Cry 4 with the Order of the Sword, because there's no Order of the Sword, apparently. There's just the actual Catholic Church who's holding the Force Edge for some reason. Then we can't have Devil May Cry 5. Fuck me, I guess. I'm not necessarily against them making their whole new timeline. I think it's stupid. because I think there's potential for areas for you to explore within the main DMC canon, and no one would argue with you. If you took the bit between DMC 2 and DMC 4, and you explain how Dante stops being depressed, I think people would enjoy that a lot. But they don't. They make the whole new thing. So as a fan of the story of Devil May Cry, it's annoying. And as a fan of Lady as a character, it's super annoying. I just realized I didn't bring up my biggest gripe with Lady. She constantly swears. Like, constantly. Every fucking word has her say another shitting swear, like a goddamn filthy mouse bastard sailor. Like, she can't fucking pretend that she's not a potty-mouthed bitch. That's what her dialogue sounds like. It feels like Vizzy-Pop wrote it. I'm not exaggerating. Devil May Cry is awesome because the characters in it are fucking cool despite not doing typically cool stuff. Dante never drinks, never smokes, never does drugs, and doesn't have sex. And these are the 4 things that Hollywood are always like, this makes you a cool person. These are the bad things that cool people do. And he doesn't do any of them. I'm pretty sure Lady never swears. Most of the DMC cast don't swear, and if they do, it's in a very specific circumstance. Nero said fuck once, and it was awesome. So while I'm glad Dante stayed the same and he's still just a silly guy, Lady being turned into a potty mouth mercenary who doesn't even use her iconic weapon sucks. She pulls out her rocket launcher, Kalina Ann, at the end of the anime, shoots it twice, and discards it. She's not even allowed to use her own weapon. She has to use just her pistols, and they're not even hers. I genuinely hate what they did to Lady. Like, she's such a cool character. She's so sick. Literally, in 4 and 5, her entire job is to show up, look badass, and leave. She does it in both of them, and everyone loves her. There's also this weird thing, which I don't really know how to breach. In Devil May Cry 3, Dante just refers to Lady because he doesn't know her name. So he just keeps calling her Lady. Pretty simple way to have her name. But over the course of the game, she adopts that name because her old name doesn't matter anymore. The person that she was before dies and she becomes Lady in a very metaphorical sense. I think it's quite a nice metaphor just for life. You can find a lot of solace in different ways through Lady's story in Devil May Cry 3. The Netflix show constantly brings up her old name. Like, all the time. More than Devil May Cry 3 did. We don't learn Lady's original name until halfway through Devil May Cry 3. Before we hear someone call her Lady, she's called her original name. And all of the subtitles say her original name. And listen, I know that this, like, isn't a trans character, right? So it doesn't matter too much. It's not like a dead name, but it just feels really weird. Like, I don't like it. I don't know. It feels like they didn't treat Lady with the same respect that they treated Dante with. Dante's able to keep his story completely intact. In fact, they even enhance on it a little bit. But Lady, she has to be changed. She can't be in the show as she was. And that sucks. I hate that. I hate it so much. If it was only little things, I wouldn't mind too much, but Lady is a secondary protagonist. If we're not following Dante, the likelihood is we're watching Lady do something. And if we're not, it's related to one of the two. Either an organization talking about Dante or Lady, or the villains plotting evil stuff. Oh my god, I didn't talk about the villains either, did I? The villains of this are weird. So, the rabbit shows up. Again, I actually don't know the lore of the rabbit originally. I know he is from the manga, which I haven't read, because I am stupid. and didn't get around to it. But he shows up and he is trying to destroy the barrier that Sparta made. Typical demon bullshit, right? But he's not a demon. He's a human that fell into the demon world after he escaped, like, an abusive household, which, fair enough. I don't know if that's his original law. That's the law we have now. The show tries to do a both sides debate on this, which is really weird. Basically, the demon world is given more characterization, I guess would be the best way to describe it. Every time we've seen the demon world in the games, it's just been a barren wasteland filled with demons. Who the funk it, right? Demons show up and they constantly fight, and most of them aren't cognitive. They're pretty much animals that fight on instinct. But this show shows demons as more humanoid. It literally links them as a separate evolution of humans. It says, like, essentially humans fell into this world and through evolution adapted differently to become demons. Meaning that every demon has, like, our level of thinking. Not just a couple of them, like Mundus or Sparta or any of the Angelos or anything like that. Every demon is that level. And because of demon politics, now the demon world is inhospitable. The air is poison. If you're not part of Mundus's inner circle, you're not getting enough food, and people are dying. So they now need to come over to the human world so that they can just exist. I don't mind this in concept. I do think it's a little bit weird. It's like giving the zombies in Resident Evil a whole society. I don't necessarily mind this. What I mind is that the rabbit isn't doing this for any altruistic reason. They were, and then they suffered a tragic event, and now it's basically just shown as them being evil and sadistic because something bad happened to them. And it kind of feels like shit. I have actually a similar problem with DMC Devil May Cry, where it basically implies that people can't just do things because it's the right thing to do. People can't suffer tragedy and then do the right thing. If they're doing something, it's out of spite or revenge or bitterness. What the rabbit is doing is arguably a good thing, but he's evil, and he's doing it for the wrong reasons. And it's like, it's kind of shit. It feels like a very pessimistic outlook on the world, you know? I'm not saying that, like, all of the Devil May Cry games have their characters be extremely virtuous, but in a lot of the games, Dante's just kind of doing what he does because either he has a bit of personal gain in it, or it's the right thing to do. Dante doesn't need to show up in Devil May Cry 4, arguably. But okay, halfway through the plot, he definitely needs to show up. But from the looks of it, he's there because someone said, hey, demons are about, you should probably do something. So now he's there, and he's helping out. And so are Trish and Lady. Granted, they're being paid, but he only takes jobs that he feels a real connection with. We see that in 5. He doesn't take jobs for ages, to the point where the electric and gas aren't on, because he doesn't need them, but he isn't taking jobs. I don't know, it feels like people can't do things for a good reason because of the story beat, and I kind of just hate it. It's really annoying. It undermines the cause. If the rabbit really was just trying to destroy the barrier so that his demons could be free and not suffer, I think that'd be enough motivation, but they had to add on top that, oh, he's evil, actually. And that sucks. That's not fun. That would be fine. But then, of course, you know, we're getting both sides. We're getting both sided. Because of course we are. So, at the end of the show, the America nukes hell. If you haven't watched the full show, you might be saying, what the fuck? But yet, no. America nukes hell. They go in and scorched earth the majority of the demon world and fucking blow it up. And, like, create fucking encampments to put people in. And by people, I mean demons, obviously. And it's like, Holy fuck! It genuinely feels like it comes out of nowhere. Like, they beat the big bad guy, and then the fucking vice president opens a portal, and a bunch of planes fly in, and American Idiot by Green Day starts playing. And you literally see these demons get, like, exploded. And it's like, what the fuck is going on? I had a conversation with someone while I was streaming the DMC remake for a video that I want to make soon, where they said they hate it when the answer to hard questions in a lot of media is demons did it. Because that undermines a lot of, like, actual social issues. It's very easy to just say demons did something and then move past it and not really think about it. One thing that I hate, though, is when there is an evil, a demon, a devil, a other, a monster, and something goes, but humans are the true devil. Like, really? Are you serious? 'Cause that's kind of what it feels like. Granted, it is believable. If you told me hell has been opened and the first reaction by Americans was to nuke it, I would believe you. Like, this doesn't feel unrealistic at this point. But it is very, very annoying. They also tease Virgil at the end. Big criticism I have, and I had this when they showed Virgil in the clip. Virgil's voice actor is not his original voice actor. In fact, none of the voice actors in the show voiced the original characters. I'm pretty sure Lady's voice actor is different, actually. Let me check. Yeah, Lady's voice actress is a new person. Scout Taylor Compton. She's seemingly not done a lot of stuff. This is one of her first roles. She did a good job. I will say it wasn't, like, bad. I don't think Dante's, I don't think Johnny Young Bosch did a bad voice either. It's very obviously Johnny Young Bosch, but he didn't do a bad job. Virgil, though, is a really specific case. I personally believe Virgil's voice is the most iconic in video games. Like, you hear someone with that cadence, and you think, holy fuck, that's Virgil. Virgil's voice is not Daniel Southworth, which, it sucks. It genuinely sucks. Daniel brings a gruffness to the role that is seemingly unmatched by any video game character ever. There is a reason that when he plays the Quantum Ranger in Power for the Grid, he says Virgil lines. This is literally his only video game role unless it's Power Rangers related. I don't know if it's just, like, hard to book him, or if he's expensive and they ran out of budget, or what. But you gotta cast him. I'm sorry, you have to. Or you at least have to cast a convincing sound alike. Virgil just doesn't work with a flat American accent. He doesn't. Hey guys, my name's Virgil. I need more power, dude. Whoa. Like, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. He's also being set up as, like, a hero, which is not Virgil at all. But then again, I guess if the demons aren't necessarily the bad guy, and Virgil's supposed to represent more of the demon half of the lineage, I guess it makes sense that he's not going to be a bad guy. I don't know, man. There's just a lot of things in the show that make it so that I can't love it. It feels like what I was worried was going to happen, where they got the Devil May Cry license, and they decided to make their own thing instead of making a Devil May Cry show. In fact, at some points, it genuinely feels like they wanted to make a Resident Evil show. One of the last fights is a guy turning into a super mutant, which, okay, let's be real, it's not like things haven't mutated in Devil May Cry before, but a giant super mutant with a spike for a hand who's, like, chatting shit at you as you shoot it with your gun, that's Resident Evil. That's not Devil May Cry. I understand that they share a lot of DNA, like a lot of DNA, but it's not the same. I don't know. If I can't enjoy half of the scenes because Dante's not in them and I don't care about the supporting cast, I don't think that that's a good show, personally. Also, the supporting cast sucks. Like, I'm gonna be real. They have this group of mercenaries that work with Lady, and we don't learn their names. We learn their names as they're dying. They're in it for, like, 3 episodes. I'm like, I don't care about any of these people. It's like they're trying to set it up, but they're, like, chicken-footing away from it. I don't know, man. I was really hoping that this was gonna be sick. This was gonna be the thing. This was gonna be the thing to bring Devil May Cry back, and we were gonna bust back out on the scene, renewed interest in the fucking series, and maybe get something from Capcom, but I'm not feeling it with a show. I'm just not. It's okay. It's not bad. It's just not what I wanted. And that's a damn shame. That is a damn shame. Because I love Devil May Cry. I do hope it gets another season. There's a lot of cliffhangers and stuff. But I don't think it's ever gonna feel like DMC to me. Even... Unless next season they're bouncing between Virgil and Dante. Maybe it will. But they've already ruined one of the characters. Lady is irredeemably fucked at this point. I don't want to know what they're going to do with Trish. They're going to absolutely ruin that character. Which sucks. It's terrible. It's not like I want Dante's story to go away, but why does he get to keep his story and then Lady is forced to have a different origin? It's just shit. It's just shit. I don't know, man. That's my thoughts on it. Let me know how you feel in the comments below. Sorry for the different type of video. I normally don't do show reviews, but this is a special case. It's Devil May Cry. Thank you all for watching. Hopefully I'll see you around. Peace.